Hi students, I hope you are all listening to my video lectures and watching my video lectures and learning the concepts very well. So if you have any doubts anywhere when you go through my video lecture, when you are watching my video lecture, if you have any doubt you can definitely ask me, or you can post your doubt, or you can post your you can share your comments, and anything you want to suggest me, or you want any changes regarding any doubt you have, you can definitely text me or comment me in the comment box. So you are free to do all those things. I am very free. And so this is the third lecture in the living world chapter. So we are discussing the chapter living world since two lectures. So this is the last lecture. So as it is the very basic chapter, and it has all the diversity things and classification and nomenclature, we have seen all those things. So in this lecture also we will see taxonomical aids, we will see in this lecture. So how all those things, the new organism, if it is found, then how it is stored in the museum, and what are the things, what are the aids which help in storing the materials, plant materials and animal materials, and how do they are helpful, what is the role of these zoological parks and biological parks, and all those things are there. So we'll discuss those things in this lecture. So I hope you have subscribed the channel. If you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe the channel and help us to grow well. So this Kalam Academy YouTube channel is created for you to help the students all over the world, and especially for Andhra and Telangana people, Andhra and Telangana students. So somewhere, if any, sometimes I use the local language Telugu also, so to give more clarity to the concept. So if you need any clarification in any other language like Hindi and Urdu, you can definitely contact me. Okay, so subscribe my channel, and we'll go through the lecture. So as you know that we'll start our lecture with a very good quotation here. Your future depends on what you do today, and your today has already started. So definitely students, if you are your future depends on what you do today. So what you are doing today will definitely reflect on your future, and your today has already started. So every single minute is very useful, and it must be utilized in a proper way to reach our goals. So our goal is to crack NEET, and crack the competitive exams, and get the clear concepts uh, in their subject. So your future depends on what you do today, and your today has already started. So the topic to be covered in this lecture is, as I said you, taxonomical aids. So in the taxonomical aids, both laboratory and field studies are important for identification of various species. Both laboratory and field studies are important for identification of various species. So species, if you want to find the species, you need to go for field studies, and you have to bring that new species into the laboratory, and you need to study. So both laboratory and field studies are important for identification of various species. The information thus gathered about the species need to be stored for future studies. The actual specimens are collected, preserved, and stored for verification if required later on. So the specimens are collected, preserved, and stored for verification if required for later on. So these are various techniques, procedures, and stored information that are useful in identification and classification of organisms. So here we'll go through all those things. So taxonomical aids. So they are different for dead and living organisms. So for dead plants there is a herbarium, for dead animals there is a museum. For living plants, there is a botanical garden. For living animals, there are zoological parks. So all these are helpful for these are taxonomical aids. So as you know that what is the taxonomy? So taxonomy means we have to sort the animals into groups. We have to group the animals based on the similar characters and dissimilar characters, and we need to study the organisms based on their ancestors. We have to relate them. So all those things are done in the taxonomy. So in the taxonomy we use the taxonomical aids for classification. So what is an herbarium? Herbarium is a place where dried, pressed and preserved plant specimens are mounted on sheets are kept. The sheets are arranged systematically in accordance with any accepted system of classification, usually Bentham and Hooker's classification. So the storage of sheets forms a repository for future use. The storage of sheets forms a repository for future use. It provides a quick referral system and is quite useful for people involved in taxonomical studies. So it is a herbarium is very useful. It provides a quick referral system. So if anyone wants to have a look at that plant, so if we visit a herbarium, we can go there and you can find how that plants look, and we can see the parts of the plant, and useful parts are there and very important parts. Anything we can get the lot of information from the herbarium. So it provides a quick referral system and is quite useful for people involved in taxonomical studies. So history of herbaria. Majority of the world's famous herbaria originated from botanical gardens. The first herbarium was set up at Pisa in Italy. So the equipment required to prepare herbaria are digger and pruning knife, sickle with long handle, vasculum, polythene bags, magazines or newspapers, blotting papers, plant press, field notebook, herbarium sheets, glue, labels, small transparent polythene bags. So all these are the equipment to prepare herbaria. So we want to prepare herbaria, we need all this equipment and we'll prepare a herbaria. So procedure for herbarium preparation, you can see here: field visit and specimen collection, pressing and drying. First point we'll go to a field and visit there, field visit and specimen collection. Next we'll bring that specimen and we'll do pressing and drying, and then we'll do mounting and labeling and preservation. So all these are the procedure for preparation of herbaria. So first point we'll see field visit and specimen collection. So an area is selected for botanical excursion. So we need to go for botanical excursion to an area. It is preferable to visit the same site in different seasons. If we go to the same place in different seasons, we can see different. We can know that in which season which flowers will be coming and what is happening in different seasons to the same place. So for herbaceous plants, entire plant is selected, and for other shoots having important parts are selected and cut with a pruning knife. So we'll do all those things. First field visit and specimen, we'll collect a specimen. Now specimens are spread over magazines. Specimens are spread over magazines or newspaper sheets. These newspapers are now put inside the press. Now what we'll do? We'll put these newspapers on which we have spread the specimens inside the press. So now we'll do mounting. Herbarium sheets are selected. The dried samples are placed over the sheets by glue and then covered with polythene to prevent damage of delicate parts. So labeling: family, genus, species, characteristics, area, date and collector name is noted. We'll do labeling for that. Now we'll preserve the specimen. Specimens are treated with 0.1% mercury chloride to prevent fungal attack, and we'll also spray DDT, naphthalene, carbon disulfide are also used as pesticides. so that insects may not affect the specimen. So I hope you are understanding of the things for the procedure of herbarium preparation. So we have seen the different things here. So here you can see. So first step was field visit and specimen collection. Here in the first step we have collected the specimen, and next we have done the pressing and drying, next mounting, next labeling and preservation. So what are the uses of herbarium? You can see information about flora. Flora is nothing but plants. So information about flora, and in the herbarium you can get the authentic identification. You can directly see the plant and you can identify the parts. You can really study the plant without going to the field study. Quick referral for taxonomic studies. So if you want to do taxonomic studies, if you want to relate any animal, any plant species with the other, you can see all the parts present there. Repository of plant specimens. It is a repository of plant specimens. Knowing ecology of different places. So ecology, you can see the ecology of different places. We can know from where the plant is collected, then we can know the flora and fauna of that area. So we can know the ecology of that particular place also. So what are the important herbaria in the world? There are different herbaria in the world. So it is the biggest herbaria is the Royal Botanical Garden at Kew, London, largest herbarium. It is the largest herbarium which is present in Kew, London. So that is the largest one. It has got 6.5 million species of plant species. 6.5 million species of plants. Next, another one is Museum of Natural History. It is in Paris. It has got over 6.06 million specimens. Central National Herbarium, that is nothing but Indian Botanical Garden, that is present in Kolkata, India. It has got 2 million species of plants. Madras Herbarium, that is in Coimbatore, it has got 1,50,000 species. Herbarium of National Botanical Research Institute, NBRI, Lucknow, India. It has got 80,000 specimens. So you have got the complete data regarding the herbaria in the world, different largest herbaria in the world and in India. So this is a table, very important table. From this table you can get a question in the NCERT or in any competitive exam. So this has got this table has got much information. You need to remember all these things. So just remember the biggest largest herbaria in the world is Royal Botanical Garden, and largest herbaria in India is Central National Herbarium, that is Indian Botanical Garden, that is present in Kolkata, India. So what are botanical gardens? Botanical gardens are large sized tracts. You can see here in the photo, you can see here it is large sized tracts where plants of different types and areas are grown for scientific and educational purposes. So if plants are grown in large tracts, then it is called a botanical garden. So it is considered natural and economical reference system. The first real botanical garden was developed by Theophrastus. He is considered as father of botany. So a botanical garden exclusively growing trees and shrubs is called arboretum. The most famous and the largest botanical garden is the Royal Botanical Garden, as we have discussed. It has got 6.5 million species of plants. It is extended in 200 acres of land. It was founded in 759 by William Ayton. You can see here. So this is about botanical gardens around the world. So you can see botanical gardens in India. The largest botanical garden of India is Indian Botanical Garden, Kolkata, and it was established in 1787. Indian Botanical Garden, and it was established in 1787. Besides it, other main botanical gardens are NBRI, Lucknow, and Lloyd Botanical Gardens, Darjeeling, and Garden of the Indian Agriculture Institute, Dehradun. So these are the other botanical gardens of India. So this is the complete information regarding botanical gardens of India and throughout the world. So botanical gardens. What botanical gardens do? Modern day botanical gardens contain outdoor plants, greenhouses, library, research laboratory, herbarium, museum. All these things are present in the botanical gardens. There is an International Association of Botanical Gardens which was established in 1962, which coordinates research and exchange of plant materials. Which coordinates research and exchange of plant materials. So role of botanical gardens. What is the role of botanical gardens? You can see here. So botanical gardens, they provide plant material for comparative and taxonomic studies, and they function as acclimatization center for exotic plants of economic importance. They provide materials for botanical research, and they give ex situ conservation of endangered plant species, and they improve the environment, provides greenery in big cities, purify the air, and serve as habitat for many animals. All these are the what these are the uses of botanical gardens. So it is very important to have botanical gardens, as they are helping the nature, and they are helping for acclimatization, and they are helping as the ex situ conservation, and they are helping the environment. They provide greenery in big cities, and all these are the uses of botanical gardens. So what is a museum? Museum is an institute where artistic and educational materials are exhibited to the public. Museums are generally set up in educational institutes. Museums have collection of preserved plants and animals for study and reference. You can see here. Only those plants are preserved in museums which cannot be kept in herbaria. Example: algae, fungi, mosses, ferns, parts of gymnosperms, fruits, underground storage organs. So all these are kept in museums. So there are botanical museums also, there are zoological museums. So different museums we will see in all over the world. What are the functions of museums? Acquisition of materials, recording of materials, preservation of materials, and they help in research, exhibition of materials, and education. So all these are the uses of museums. And where are the museums? So there is a museum, Natural History Museum in London. This is the biggest one. United States National Museum in Washington. Field Museum of Natural History, Chicago. And zoology museums, it is in Amsterdam, Netherlands. Rock Creek Nature Center, Washington. And National Museum of Anthropology, Mexico City. Anthropological museums, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Forest Museum, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. National Museum of Natural History, Delhi. Prince of Wales Museum, Mumbai. Maharaja Savai Man Singh II Museum, Jaipur. And Indian Museum, Kolkata. All these are the museums, different museums all over the world, and in India also. So animals are preserved in chemical solutions, mostly formalin, as well as in stuffed and skeleton forms. The collected specimens are correctly identified and labeled. They are stored, and catalog is prepared for future reference. The objective of preparing a museum is to record information and preserve specimens for taxonomical studies. Collection of preserved plants and animals for study and reference. Collection of preserved plants and animals for study and preference. Specimens are preserved in containers and jars in preservative solutions. Insects are preserved in insect boxes after collecting, killing, and pinning. Birds and mammals are usually stuffed and preserved. Museums also have a collection of skeletons of animals. Museums also have a collection of skeletons of animals. You can see skeletons of animals in the museums, of animals. So skeletons of animals also present, and in the birds and mammals are usually stuffed and preserved. Insects are preserved in insect boxes. After so collection of preserved plants and animals for study and reference. These are the uses of museums. Specimens are preserved in containers and jars in preservative solutions. Insects are preserved in insect boxes after collecting, killing and pinning. Birds and mammals are usually stuffed and preserved. Museums also have collection of skeletons of animals. So you can see here the collection of specimens helps in gathering the first hand information about the habitat, soil and organisms of the area. They are used to deposit type specimens whenever new tags are described. So what is the role of museums? The collection of specimens helps in gathering the first hand information about the habitat, soil and organisms of the area. They are used to deposit type specimens whenever the new tags are described. If we want to describe a new taxa, then the specimens already present, they will provide a lot of information for it. So specimens give a lot of information for the new comers. That is, if the student is newly studying the subject, then the specimens give a lot of information by observing the specimen. So these are the uses of specimens. So you can see here zoological parks, an enclosed place where live wild animals are kept for public exhibition, is called a zoological park. Zoological parks provide more natural environment. The scientific purpose of the zoo is to breed the animals which otherwise are facing a threat in their natural habitat. You can see here the scientific purpose of the zoo is to breed the animals, to breed the animal which otherwise are facing a threat in their natural habitat. Due to developmental activities, they are facing problems of poaching and habitat destruction. So information about common name and a scientific name is also displayed in the zoological park. Places where wild animals are kept in protected environment under human care. These are the where the zoological parks are present, their animals are protected. Actually, their parks are meant to protect the animals. The scientific purpose of the zoo is to breed the animals which otherwise are facing a threat in their natural habitats. So they provide more natural environment for them, as the special care is taken in the zoological parks where the animals are kept and they are taken care by the departments. So what is the role of zoological parks? Food, habit and behavior of animal is studied in the zoological parks. Food habit and the behavior of animal is studied. Study of live animal types and their behavior. Sources of tourist attraction. It is a source of tourist attraction. Many tourists come to the zoological parks and they enjoy there. They spend the time there. So it is a place of tourist attraction also. Ex situ conservation. So it is one type of ex situ conservation also, through captive breeding of endangered animals. So this is a very concept now we are going to face, that is keys. A scheme for identification of plants and animals is known as a key. What is a key? Key is a scheme for identification of plants and animals is known as key. So the term key refers to a set of alternate characters arranged in such manner that helps in the identification of an organism by selecting or eliminating the characters according to their presence or absence in the organisms. So if we have found a new organism, then if we want to identify it and it belongs to which family, it belongs to which group, it belongs to which phylum. So this key, the term key refers to a set of alternate characters. Those are arranged in such manner that helps in the identification of an organism by selecting or eliminating the characters according to their presence or absence in the organism. So it is a very important concept. How keys help? Thus, taxonomic keys are based on contrasting characters, generally in a pair called couplet. It represents the choice made between two opposite options. Nothing but we have to compare the animals. This results in acceptance of only one and rejection of the other. Each statement in the key is called a lead. What we are calling, so we write a statement about the animal, and each statement in the key is called a lead. So based on the key, we uh, recognize the animal and we place it in a proper uh, phylum or proper taxonomical classification of that animal is made. So this is carried out for an organism by determining its similarity with an already known organism. So as you can see here, this is carried out for an organism by determining its similarity with an already known organism. So if we compare the new organism with already known organism. Suppose there are three plants, say A, B, C. All are represent different species. Another plant, say D, resembles B. The recognition of the plant D as identical to the already known plant B is its identification. You got the point, I think. So here, separate taxonomic keys are required for each taxonomic category like family, genus or species. Separate taxonomic keys are required for each taxonomic category. So to place the animal in a same family, there are some characters which we compare with already known animals with the new animal. Then we place it in that family, and again we go for genus. Here we compare some characters. So which already that genus animals which are present in that genus, we compare a new animal with that and we place in that genus. Or species, we'll compare all the animals of same species, or if it is a completely new organism, we'll give it a new name. So these are more useful in identification of unknown organisms. What keys are very useful in identification of unknown organisms. Being analytical in nature, these are generally of two types, yoked or indented and bracketed. So these keys are being analytical in nature, these are generally of two types, yoked or indented and bracketed. So there are other taxonomical aids through which we classify the animal and we do classification. So other taxonomical aids are nothing but monographs, manuals, flora, catalogs and publications. So based on these taxonomical aids also, they also help in the classification of the animals. So what are monographs? Monographs give comprehensive account of complete compilation of available information of any one family or genus at a given time. Monograph of genus Pinus, for example. Manuals contain compiled information about area covered, keys and description of families, genera and species. So in a particular area, in a manual we can get the complete information regarding that. So publications, there are publications like periodicals and dictionaries are brought out to provide information about new additions and updated information. In the publications, we can see if so new additions can be seen, updated information can be seen in publications. So flora contains the actual account of habitat and distribution of plants of a given area. So the distribution of plants of a given area and the habitat is seen in the flora. These provide the index to the plant species found in a particular area. So flora provide the index to the plant species found in a particular area. So there are several floras in India, such as flora of British India, flora of Delhi, flora of Simlensis, flora of Bombay. So they provide the complete plant species found in a particular area. Then what is a catalog? Catalog contains alphabetical arrangement of species found in a particular area. So in a particular area, we need to get the information in a alphabetical arrangement. So it is an alphabetical arrangement of species found in a particular area. So students, with this we'll end. We have ended the first chapter. We have seen all the topics in the chapter of the living world. So we'll go chapter by chapter, and we'll cover all the topics from the NCERTs class 11 and class 12. Every day or day by day, I'll be uploading a video lecture for you. So you can please subscribe the channel, and you hit the like button, and share as much as possible for your friends, and for the people you can think that these videos are helpful. You can send to them without any hesitation. You can definitely like and share all the videos, and don't forget to subscribe the channel. And you can contact me on my number, which is displayed here, and I am available 24/7 for any of your any queries you have, or any of my colleagues who want to contact me. You can definitely contact me. I'll help all my colleagues and all the students of not only intermediate, for any kind of a student. I'll be helpful. So like my videos and share, and help the channel to improve, and give me encouragement. Your likes and your subscriptions and your viewing, this will definitely encourage me to make more videos. So until the next video, bye.